Hello everyone, and welcome to the first rendition of the Destroyers Academy. So, pretty much what the series is going to be is we are going to look at various types of destroyers, multiple games from the same destroyer, different destroyers, so on, and basically just going over their strengths, their weaknesses, and look over some gameplay, and I will just describe to you what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and why this particular ship is fitted for a particular situation. So, with this first rendition and the first video of this series, we are going to be looking at the Tier 8 Japanese gunboat destroyer, the Akizuki. Now, this destroyer is very good at one thing, and one thing in particular. It is these insanely nice main battery guns. There are 8 of them. They have a low fire chance with some pretty good alpha DPM, as well as having the capability to actually have pretty decent penetration if you take the IFHE skill, which I do not have with me in this battle today. But as you can see, if you look at the fire chance, there is a 5% fire chance. 2.8 second reload is very fast to have 8 guns to fire off 2.8 seconds. I'm pretty sure you can get it down to a bit lower with certain commander skills, but I think that this is the base you can get it without actually being in a gunfight with the Fearless Brawler skill. And it is a 100mm caliber with 11.3 firing range. This is just what I have it spec'd for at the moment. This is just stock modules, so I'm pretty sure you can get it to a 12.2 or 12.3 with the upgraded sight module. Dispersion is fairly low, the max dispersion. Okay, here we go. So here we had the Udachi. I'm easily beating the Udachi in a gunfight. He's a tour boat, I'm a DD, a gunboat DD. And so I just fired some shots in there, 13 pens, got some good damage, set a fire, and fired in some torpedoes. Something I see a lot of players doing, especially in these, I wouldn't say low tier, but tier 7 is definitely on the lower end spectrum for it's sort of on that gap where you get from being a new player to meeting experienced players. So oftentimes I will see newer players just lingering their smoke screens, thinking that they're untouchable in them and that they have all the time in the world to think, when in the reality you really don't, because an experienced player, and I mean I'm not the most experienced, I only have something like 1800 random battles, but in those 1800 random battles I've spent most of my time playing Destroyer, and I can say for certain that I have probably killed dozens of DDs just because they were sitting in a smoke screen, especially at these lower tiers. It's not very often you see it at high tiers just because people know to leave smoke screens. And there is a time where you can stay in your smoke screen versus when you can leave it, and that's just one of those situations where you are just going to want to leave your smoke screen and just kind of focus on a different part of the battle and just disengage with the current DD. Now, I made a bit of a mistake here. I accidentally engaged my AA on those planes because I thought that nothing from C side was going to be able to shoot me, but there you go. There was a salvo that came in from, I think it was the Baltimore from B, that just really took off some much needed HP from me, so that was a bit of a mistake on my part. But to be fair, I also didn't think that they had that angle, but once again, that's one of those things where you kind of live and learn. Here's Udachi again. I understand why he did what he did there, but once again, that's just unnecessarily taking damage. Here we go, the Endrak. Endrak is a very, very capable tier 7 Dutch destroyer, or I mean a cruiser, and I just don't mind having a bit of an open fight with him here. His guns aren't the best, so I'm not really worried about getting melted down by, say, something like Cleveland or a Sejong, or just something that you find in this matchmaking, even a Janan. And I'm just exchanging some salvos, getting in some good damage, and especially while he's focusing on the ship. Here's a Norvis. I don't even know how you pronounce that, but He's coming up on that right side flank. I pop my smoke to get some farm in because Iodachi is going north of C-Cap, so I know I have basically zero danger of torpedoes coming after me. So here I'm just melting with high explosive. Now, could I have switched to AP here and melted superstructure? Sure. I probably don't have the angle here to get a bunch of pens, but as he's moving into a better pen angle, I probably do. So that might have been a miscalculation on my part. But as you can see, we are still setting fires. He does not seem to be using damage control, or it might be on cooldown, but we're getting some good fire damage in here. We're getting some good AP alpha damage. And he is only a tier 6 battleship, so we are getting more pens rather than not. About a 1.5 ratio. And this is going incredibly well for me on this flank so far. Taking about half of my ship's HP and damage, but in doing so, we've sunk a battleship, took half of HP off of a cruiser, and heavily damaged a destroyer. So it's not looking bad so far here. Now, here's the Monarch. Now, the reason why I'm not just immediately open gunning this Monarch right now, and I kind of have to hold off for a second, because I'm wondering what he's going to do and how he's going to shoot, because the Monarch is a British battleship, and that HE really hurts, so I kind of don't want to be exposed to it immediately unless I know for a fact that I can dodge his bullets or get to a better position. So I just let off some torpedoes here. I'm pretty sure I let off some torpedoes. I also might not. Actually, I might not. Never mind. So yeah, we're just kind of looking right now just to see what he's doing, and his guns are pointed away, so I just decided to open up in the hopes that maybe he's focusing on North Carolina. So he focuses his attention back to us, which is a bit of a problem. But then he looks back to the North Carolina. So I'm thinking to myself right now, I'm wondering what this guy is going to do, because if he just sits there, I'm just going to be able to farm with HE all day and set double fire. Hearing aims, so I slow down, turn left to dodge, and there we go, all but one penetration. So I dodged 6 of his shells. I think he's going to try and get the rear turrets to shoot at me here. Not entirely sure. We are taking some fire from, I'm pretty sure it is, yep, it is the Numancia in the corridor between B and C. That shouldn't be a problem though. That is extreme range even for a capable cruiser like the Numancia. And we're just going to keep farming this Monarch, because as long as he doesn't land any high explosive, which there's the high explosive salvo, let's see what that does. Decent dodge, only 2,000 HP damage taken. And we are still setting more fires. So here I pop a smoke because I got spotting from the Lang Zhao, and probably the Geos very soon, and definitely the North Carolina. And I'm just going to open up on these rear turrets until I can swing around my body to get the front two. Just want to make sure I have constant fire on this Monarch at all times, because, I mean, it is one of the biggest threats to me in this battle right now, just because of its HE alpha damage. That and the Numancia. So as you see, our reload's getting pretty quick now. We have Adrenaline Rush, and we have a base 2.8 second reload. So at about a third of our health, that gives us a 2.5 second reload, which is very, very nice. Getting those rear turrets just so I can reposition myself better to the Numancia in case he fires some blind salvos in here. Want to make sure my profile is as thin as possible. Some shots at the Numancia, maybe I get lucky and get a fire. Just a bunch of pens for right now. 6 pens. So, a bit unlucky with not getting the fire, but yet again, there's only a 5% fire chance, so didn't really expect too much from the HE shells to set a fire there. So at this point in the battle, it's one of those things where it could go 50-50, you know, because they're down 5 ships or we're down 4. Their team, in terms of ship HP, looks a bit more stable than us, and they are slightly ahead on points, and we have yet to take that central cap, so they will remain that way until we do take it. Once again, just not going to open up with the Monarch here, because, well, you know, if he does decide to shoot at me with that HE, it's not going to be fun, and I'm in a half turn right now, so it would just not be a good idea. I'm also mainly worried about the fire from the Numancia. That is the main reason why I didn't shoot there. because the Numancia has a base detection rate of 8.4 kilometers. And that means that he can get really, really close without me seeing him before he can actually open up with his guns. And that is a big problem, because if he gets within 8 kilometers with the burst fire that the Numancia comes with, and he unloads a barrage of HE towards my belt, well, let's just say it's not going to be a good day to be Akazuki captain. I fired the torpedoes on the right because I surely thought the Monarch's acceleration was going to be good enough to get hit by those, and just a little spoiler, it was not. It actually wasn't even relatively close, which is a bit upsetting, but I had the right idea. And I think I would have done that again if the situation arises itself, just maybe in a slightly different way. So, yeah, I'm just looking at the torpedoes here because I was convinced that he was going to have some more acceleration, but he clearly did not. So, anyway, miscalculation. Maybe it was just an issue of me not knowing specifically the Monarch's acceleration speed. Looking at the team leaderboard again, they are down 6 ships, we are down 5, and at this point it truly does look like a coin flip. Their team isn't looking in the best situation either, but then again, we just lost the Talon, which is a very capable cruiser, and it was our last radar that we had. So not very good. One of the big advantages that we have against their team, though, is we have a carrier, whereas theirs got sunk. The problem is, the carrier... Sorry about that. The carrier got up-tiered, which means that it's a tier 6 Furious, which could very well still have stock planes, in a matchmaker with tier 7 and 8 ships. And with the type of ships that are alive right now, the AA fire pretty bad. And that's not as much a problem as the Furious as it is for other ships. Actually, that's my bad. We have the Independence, which then again does follow under the same rules, so I guess I can still say it. The Independence does have a decent bit of HP on its bombers, especially when attacking these tier 7 aircraft, and pretty much every carrier in the game, regardless of how poorly you execute your dive or your run-up per se, it's going to allow you to get at least one strike off of your armament. Take the Numancia, for example. It is a cruiser, specifically speaking. It has a decent AA, so, and then there you go. It gets sunk by the Chios, so I don't know, it's kind of a wasted strike, but it is what it is. Now, I unload 2 salvos on the Monarch because I was for sure he was going to keep going here, and maybe he just had a 6th sense, but he decided to start turning it, which, if I'm being completely honest with you, I might never understand the reason why, because he kind of has no reason to. Our Independence is unspotted, which means... Wow, lots of yawning early in the morning. But, that kind of means with him... With the Independence being unspotted like that, it means that the only reason that I can see for the Monarch going that way is because, truthfully, I don't know. I've never really seen a ship turn around like that for no reason, because there's no ship over in that bottom right part of the map. B and C are captured, and there's no angle that he could get on an enemy ship if he went that way. Because, if I'm being relatively honest, all the ships remaining are relatively stealthy. I say that as the Monarch gets a salvo from across map and tries to hit the Lang Zhao, so, you know, maybe he's just smarter than me. Here's where things are really starting to look grim. We just lost a couple of very key ships. The Leningrad up north, even though I think he has been playing a very valiant game, he has quite a few kills and quite a good contribution to capture. Unfortunately, he just... Man, if I keep yawning, this video may never make it. Anyway, enough about Leningrad. So, smoke up, try to farm the Monarch, because he fired... Oh, there's the high caliber medal. He fired a salvo, which means for the next 20 seconds he's going to be visible through my smoke because of the battleship smoke firing penalty. And I was excited but not excited to see him shoot that HE salvo, because that meant I get an extra few seconds of shooting the Monarch in exchange for only 1000 HP, which I will take gladly. Now, will I finish him here? Probably not. 22,000 damage, HP points left on a tier A battleship versus these guns. These are now down to a 2.3 second reload with the German rush skill, which are very, very capable of dealing out a nice bit of damage, but I don't know if they're capable of 20,000 damage. Now here I set a last second double fire on him. We'll see what that does. I want to take a couple shots at the interact, but I know that the Yamagiri or the Udachi is very close because he's in my cap. He fires 2 salvos into the smoke, which, as he should, and there we go. 10,000 HP versus 3,700. My guns versus his. Mine are just simply faster. There's kind of nothing he can do about it. It's not really his fault. I sink him. Scharnhorst sinks me. And then... any second now. There we go. The double fire that I set on the Monarch earlier sinks him. And in doing so, we further solidify our big caliber medal, which is damage 4 more enemy ships. Damage caused must equal or amount to at least 30% of the total HP of all the ships in the team, which we got significantly more than that because we dealt 20,000 more damage to him after the fact than the Udachi. Double strike because we destroyed the 2 ships within 10 seconds. Arsonist on that Monarch because we caused damage by fire amounting to at least 40% of her ship's HP, and we killed her. And then Flesh Wound, destroy enemy ship after your ship has been destroyed. Pretty self-explanatory right there. But I was pretty pleased with the result of this battle. 174,000 damage with 10k spot in what I consider to be a fairly good example of how, even if you do almost everything right as a destroyer captain, sometimes it's just up to those capital ships to kind of be your support and to finish the game. Now, am I saying that there are some destroyers in the game that can't carry? There definitely are. Some things in the higher tiers, like, I don't know, maybe a Daring or the Hull. Just some ships that are slightly more capable than the Akizuki could potentially carry a game better than the Akizuki, because for all of the good things that the Akizuki does, it also has some bad things, you know. The Akizuki, even though it has the health pool, doesn't necessarily have the strongest armor, and the speed and maneuverability are fairly sluggish, especially for a destroyer. And although the guns are great, torpedoes are not so great, so you can't really just destroy a bunch of heavily armored targets just by firing balls of skill at it. The Independence is trying his best, but he is going to lose in the end because, well, there honestly really isn't much that a lone Independence can do. As we see that Leningrad, 4 kills, put up a valiant fight. And just props to pretty much everyone in this battle because it was a very good battle. I got some pretty good clans in here. I've seen Pixel around. Pixel's good clan. And even though I'm not currently a part of a clan, I'm currently working on it. And, you know, this was just a great battle, honestly, and it is a battle that I really wanted to put on display for the first edition of the Destroyers Academy because it just shows everything that the Akizuki is good at, and everything that the Akizuki just isn't so good at. Whilst also showing what the ship is capable of, and it also shows that sometimes no matter what you do, you're just not destined to win. Anyway, that's going to be it for today's battle. Thank you very, very much for watching, and have a great day.